Hi guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about how to make Viper Diva ShlÃ style melodic hard rave techno. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI presets, everything like that from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're patient on my Patreon, check there because it's already available, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 144 BPM, and right off the bat we have the rumble kick. Now, I'll show you the kick in a second. The main thing about this kick is just kind of like understanding its place in the track, because we have a kick with a bass attached to it, obviously. But then we also have another bass over here, right? But then when we solo this bass, you notice that it doesn't really have the like deep low end in it. And then if we play it with the rumble, like you can clearly hear two separate things there. And so that's going to be the thing with this style of track, is that you're going to have the rumble kick, however you want to make that, which I'll show you the way I made this one. But then you're also going to have that Reese bass on top of it. And it's just kind of like blending those and understanding like how to make those fit. So for this kick, we just have the main kick, which is not got any processing on it individually. And then we have the rumble. And so the way this rumble is being made is, it's just the kick. It's actually, you can see playing that same MIDI where it's just quarter notes. And then that's going into a bit of reverb here. And then you can see we have this amp on it, which obviously makes it sound kind of crazy, but it really brings up the low end. So then we go past that. And now we're taking just the lows. And one thing I noticed is that you're going to want to make sure that this low pass isn't too low. Like if we put it like here, that might sound good because you're getting just the bass, but it doesn't really like fill out the track that well. And this is part of blending it with the Reese bass, is that having this, see, it doesn't really have those like crossover frequencies as much when you make it too low. Then we're just sidechaining that to the kick. And then I finally just have an EQ8 here, which is cutting out at 24 hertz here. So we pretty much can't hear anything lower than like 20 to 30 hertz in general. But the problem is that a lot of times, especially with these rumbles, you can have frequencies in that range that, while we're not hearing them, they are going to mess up the headroom of the mix and take up space and ultimately just make things a little bit messier, so we're just cutting that. And yeah, you can hear it's just a bit more even when we turn that on. Then on the group here, we have a little bit of drum bus, which we're just doing parallel drum bus here, so here's without it. And then with it. You can hear it's not really adding like too much because the kick and the rumble are already really solid on their own, but this just adds that extra kind of glue. And then you can see I blended it with the dry wet there. And then we have another one of these EQs just cutting out the lows that we're not really going to hear. And yeah, then we have this rave loop. So this is typically like what you're going to have underneath the kick here. Like you have your percussions that are going to be programmed in. But then when we add in this rave loop, you know, it just gives you that almost like live element that you just can't quite get with only programmed percussion. And this one's good. It's got a very like nice groove with the kick there. Then we have these hi-hats. So you can hear it's just like this little closed hi-hat. And then what's happening here is it's this open hi-hat with this noise layer. And all this is it's just a little bit of white noise with a high pass filter on it. But if you put that over top, now you can hear. So the open hi-hat on its own, and then with the noise. Again, on its own. And with the noise, it just fills out that like really sizzly high end that we couldn't get with just the open hi-hat. Then we have this kick. And so this is a kick. It's actually a different kick from the main one, but you can hear it just goes like. And yeah, so this is just like a nice percussion layer. You can hear like if I play it with the rave loop, it just adds some nice motion into the drums. So it's this kick. I'll show you the sample, which already kind of has like a nice tail on it. But then you can see what I did is I used the fade, and we've got it like kind of fading in, so it goes. And then we've got it going through reverb and some drum bass. And then I'm also high passing it. And you'll notice we're high passing it at the end of the chain, but also at the beginning of the chain. And the reason why we're doing both is because of this. If I turn off this one at the start, see how there's like a. So that just cuts that out. Then you can hear the same thing happens if we get rid of the one at the end of the chain. And then see if we put them both at the end of the chain, it's a little bit too much high passing. So it's just a little finesse. And then we have the clap snare. So this is just 2 layers. It's an 808 clap, which you can see we've got a short reverb and then a bunch of distortion on it. And then a 909 snare, which has actually no reverb. And then that's got its own distortion as well. And you'll notice the distortion is actually the same, but I didn't just put one distortion on the group of these. Like, putting it on each one individually is going to make it sound a little bit better. But yeah, you can hear that just creates this really nice hard-hitting clap so that now it's just like a really hit. Versus if we just use the clap or just the snare, it just doesn't quite have as much punch. Then we have this Reese bass. So we're in the key of D minor here, and what we're doing is we're going root note, 6th, 4th, minor 7th. So it's actually like, these voices are used a lot in these style of tracks, you know, like, you get that very like between those 3 voices in particular, you hear that a lot. And you can also hear like the way it jumps to the different notes, like when it goes up on an 8th note. Like that. Dun, 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 dun. You know, just having that rhythm there. That's almost like a drum and bass thing, like having that. For the sound on this one, it's made with wavetable. We have a saw wave and then another saw wave here. Yeah, you can see just going into a low pass filter, where we're not cutting off all of the highs, like there's still a little bit coming through, but for the most part we're pretty much just like cleaning it up. I've got the unison on the classic mode, and then we just have a bit of chorus as well as some drum bus to make it a bit fatter and more raw. I have a high pass filter because again we want to make sure that that's fitting properly with the kick. And you'll notice that right about where the kick, or where the rumble I should say, is ending, this high pass filter starts. And I can even do that a little bit more. And then we're just side chaining that to the kick. And that's it for that Reese. Then we have the pad. So the thing with this pad is that it's kind of playing a counter melody to the Reese bass, where like the Reese bass is playing that one chord progression, and you'll notice that this changes notes at the exact same time. So like it's kind of meant to be playing those same exact intervals, but then the notes that it's playing are different. And so the way that you write this is essentially you take like your bass notes, like write this bass line first, and then you can just put that into here. And then it's just writing this to fit with that. And if you notice, you can see like, okay, here for example. So we have the bass is playing the root note. This pad is playing the fifth. And then here. See, that's like a major chord that's happening there between the pad and the bass line. Like, it's really just creating that feel there where this pad is not just playing its own thing, but it's kind of like one half of the puzzle with the bass, essentially. So for the sound on this one, this is made with wavetable. It's 2 saw waves, just like the Reese bass. But then with this one, we have the low pass filter, even higher. And then we have this noise unison. And you can see that that is all the way up. You just get that super chaotic, like, washed out, kind of cool unison there. It gives you an interesting texture. We also have a bit of reverb and a high pass filter, and then just a compressor side chaining this one to the kick. And the last sound we have down here is the lead. So if you notice, this is actually pretty straightforward. The main thing here is just like the way that it's structured, right? Like, okay, so we're using like root note, minor third, minor seventh, sixth, and then here we go sixth to fifth, and then just like using the same voices, like, you know, not getting too complicated with it, just like walking down the scale. Yeah, you want to write something catchy that's a little bit more memorable and less, kind of like a combination between rhythmic and melodic, but a bit more leaning on the melodic side. But if you know what you're doing with the scales, like just using like really a pretty basic minor scale, you can do exactly what I'm doing here. Again, it's just like working with like this is only 3 notes. But it's so much more powerful than like, you know, just doing all those extra notes. Like just keeping it these simple 3 notes that are right next to each other. For the actual sound on this one, it's made using wavetable. So as you can see, wavetable is really good for the style of techno. We've got a saw wave and a square wave here, which are detuned a little bit. And then we also have a bit of this noise unison over here. It's not quite as much as the pad, but it's still a pretty good amount of it. And then we have a bit of echo, as well as some reverb to kind of wash this sound out. You know, you want it to be a bit more spread out like that. And then finally, I just have a compressor side chaining into the kick. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video. It's available at the top of the description. Thank you very much for all the support. Everybody who goes to grab this, it really helps keep me going so I can keep bringing you guys new videos every day. Plus, you get a great template full of really awesome samples and MIDI and presets for you to work with. Link is at the top of the description. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.